Hey, welcome back to Play and Trade Guitars. I'm John, that's Zach behind the camera, and today Zach and I are about to show you the coolest new Squier that we've come across. I'm really excited to do it. We've got it in the case, but first I got a couple other cases. You're going to want to be subscribed to Play and Trade Guitars. We've got a couple giveaways and we're getting close on one. Let me bring you on down to this bad boy. If you can get us to 20,000 subscribers, we are giving away the Billy Joe Armstrong Epiphone Les Paul Jr. Man, does that look sick. Subscribe to Play and Trade Guitars. We're giving away this Gibson Custom Shop Les Paul R7 when we hit 50,000 subscribers. We're going to do it together. Thanks for playing and trading with us. Down to our order of business today, we're going to show you the coolest new Squier that Zach and I have come across in years. Throwing it back to the late 90s, an original Fender design which was retired for a while and then brought back by the Squier Paranormal team. Let's go ahead and flip these latches and take a look at the brand new, oh man, Fender Paranormal series, the Squier Paranormal Toronado. Oh my goodness, mystic seafoam green metallic finish. Let's get this out of the case. We're gonna have a lot of fun with this one today. We're gonna put it on the bench and take it apart, show you what goes into this atomic Squier from the Paranormal team, and then we're gonna plug it in and demo for you. So let's get to work. So you're well aware of the classic Fender body styles, like your Strats and Tellys, like your Jazzmasters, your Jaguars. Well, you may not have realized that in the late 90s, Fender came up with a brand new one, an offset design called the Toronado. It was available in the late 90s and then discontinued, and then reissued, made in Korea from 2004 to 2006. In fact, I got two on the wall. Those are the Toronado GT double humbuckers from Seymour Duncan that came stock. Super cool guitars. And now, only the third opportunity you've had is the beautiful new Squier Paranormal Series Toronado in this mystic seafoam green finish. Sports atomic humbuckers, so higher output. We'll get a reading on those soon. Beautiful, beautiful finish. 4 controls, a humbucker, Indian Laurel fretboard that feels great in the hands. And something that makes all the Toronados really, really unique is that in a way this is Fender's take on a Gibson guitar because it has Gibson scale length. So it's shorter than a standard Fender guitar, but it's not quite as short as something like a Mustang or a Jaguar. Somewhere in between. In fact, right in between at the Gibson scale length. So something pretty cool. So let's get it on the bench and talk specs and then we'll plug it in. Man, does that look sweet.
It's so cool. It's like a hot rod, man.
Yeah, yes it does. You've got 4 controls, so you got a kind of Gibson style. You got volume and tone for each of the humbuckers. You do have 2 humbuckers on there, and then a Gibson style 3-way pickup switch.
Oh, look at that string through, dude.
Yeah, I got the string through, so like a Telly. Squier on the back plate here, a maple neck with a gloss finish. I like the gloss. Really comfortable neck, C-shape, somewhat slim. And then we got designed and backed by Fender. So this is a Squier. They're making these in China. The construction on this, I can tell you just the initial reaction of the neck is really a standout. The gloss feels fantastic. Indian Laurel, Zach and I were talking about this. I'm not a particular fan of the Pau Ferro. The Indian Laurel is more similar, in my opinion, to rosewood. It feels a lot more like rosewood. It's not quite as dark a piece of wood, but for my preference, I think you're getting a really good fretboard on this guitar. Pearloid dot inlays look sharp on there too. And I like to take a guitar apart because it helps you understand what's going into the build of these days. And also it's always good practice for taking apart a guitar, putting it back together, and finding out what you like in terms of your own personal setup preferences, and then finding your own place for where you want those to sit. So with the tension off the strings, I'll go ahead and capo the neck here. And then we'll flip this up and start taking the neck off. Squier plate. Flip this around and gently let the neck fall out. Toronado, a QC mark. And you gotta look at that Indian Laurel. So you got a nice slab of Indian Laurel. The radius on this is 9.5, so a more modern Fender radius. Now actually the Toronados made in Korea had the Gibson 12-inch radius, so an even flatter feeling fretboard. This is combining the scale of Gibson scale length with the 9.5-inch radius that a more typical modern Fender, Telly or Strat you'd see in production. In the body pocket here, you can see that finish. Toronado in the body pocket. And at this point, we'll go ahead and take the plastic off these atomic humbuckers.
It's a big old pickguard to take off.
Oh, yes, it is.
But yeah, you're right. It's totally an original design.
Well, and I like the offsets, but the thing about offsets to me is that the traditional ones, like the Jaguar, are all coming in at short scale, 24-inch. And to me, it's just too short. They always feel a little bit too small in my hands. So I like that you're getting the offset body with the Gibson scale 24 3/4 on these. It's actually really, really nice. All right, so we got 10 screws holding on the pickguard. It's a 3-ply pickguard, white, black, white. All right, so with 10 screws out, we can go ahead and flip up this pickguard. So under the hood here, you can see a set of atomic humbuckers. The only marking on the back is for neck and bridge, so you see the N and the B respectively. And you see the 3-way pickup selector switch. And that's it under the hood. We'll take a look at the routes. They give you a decent amount of lead wire. That's kind of nice, because sometimes when they don't, it's hard to flip this stuff up. You get a look at the routes, so you see there's quite a bit of routing going on for both the lead lines going up to your 3-way pickup selector switch, and then routed for humbucker in the body. I'm going to go ahead and take the bridge off just to see how this is working. It should be a very simple design with just 2 screws holding down the bridge, and since it's string through, the bridge is just really serving the purpose of holding our saddles. Squier branded saddles here, height adjustable and length adjustable.
That's cool that Squier's branding their saddles.
That is pretty cool.
Have they done that? I don't know if I've ever noticed that.
I'm not sure if I've seen that either. I know people are big fans of the arms on a Mustang or a Jazzmaster on the offset body fenders. But there's something to be said about just a fixed hardtail too in terms of tuning stability. Oops, no, there's 4 screws here. All right, so we've got our bridge held on with 4 screws. We've got those up and out. And then I'll just lift this up and reveal a couple things going on. String through body construction, the 4 screws to hold the bridge plate down, and then this here is a ground wire that comes from the electronics that grounds to the underside of the bridge, which means you are the ground for this guitar. So we're moving the knobs using a Allen wrench. We've got some good quality heavy knobs here. These feel nice. Solid shaft, pretty high quality looking pots. We'll flip it over and find out what kind of pots are in there. That's looking very Gibson style, isn't it? The trapezoid control cavity cover. All right, so we've got some import pots in here.
Yeah, we got it.
Cool. All right, so I'm at a point now where I'm actually going to restring this guitar. I really prefer to use Diezel 10-gauge strings, especially on anything that's Gibson scale or shorter. So on a Fender guitar that's 25.5 inches, I think 9s feel pretty good. I prefer 10s, but especially as soon as we get to Gibson scale 24 3/4 or less, you're going to need minimum, in my opinion, at least 10 gauge. I love Diezel 10s. Also taking a look at this piece of Indian Laurel, I'll go ahead and use some conditioner on the fretboard to hydrate that with Diezel Hydrate. And I think one of the most obvious things that you can do to bond with a new guitar that you get is put a set of strings on it that you're used to playing. So I'm used to using Diezel 10-gauge strings. Then that's what I'm going to put. I understand the strings from the factory are brand new, but they might feel different or they might sound different than what you're used to. And if you're trying to bond with a new guitar, it goes a long way to put a new set of strings that you're familiar with. So I'm going to throw the Diedarios on there and then keep this set of factory strings and use them on another guitar, should I need a spare. So heading up to the top of the guitar and looking at the headstock, it's pretty cool. You get this kind of Jaguar style offset headstock. Or Jazzmaster style headstock, and then you get these vintage split tuners. I actually really like these tuners. Apart from modern locking tuners, I call these quick loaders, and I'll show you why. All right, so I'm going to hydrate this board with Diezel Hydrate, and then what you kind of do is just baptize the board. This is only on rosewood style necks. You don't do this on maple because it doesn't require it, but any kind of rosewood or Indian Laurel or Pau Ferro, you would do this. You also don't need to do this on ebony because ebony does not dry out the way that rosewood or the equivalent type of board does. All right, so one criticism I have of this guitar is that the barrels that they're using for loading have a lip at the top side, and it's real easy for these strings to get stuck. It's easier than a typical string through body bridge. it's like they cut the holes at the top a little bit too small so that it becomes too easy for them to bump into the top of the bridge plate. If there's a compromise that you see anywhere on a guitar like a Squier, you typically will see it in the hardware. So, you know, you're typically going to be looking at pot metal, and, you know, attention to some of the details can get skipped at times. It's not a deal breaker, but, you know, something like sticking the strings through a string through body should be a little bit easier than this. There's like a lip of metal up in there. Yeah, there you go, Zach. See how you, see that rim that's in there? It acts like a blocker. It catches the top of the string as it's trying to go through. I need to cut that a little wider at the top. All right, let me show you why I call these quick loading tuners now. I love this style of vintage tuner. I think they look cool, and I think they're easy to tune. So we'll align with the nut slots. And then here's where it gets real easy. Watch this. Take your E string, pull it taut, go up 2, 1, 2, cut, pull your A, go up 1, 2, pull the D here, and here you're going to eyeball, basically aiming for about 2 post lengths. Same with the E. So now you pre-cut the lengths of each of the strings. Starting with your E, you'll drop this down in the barrel until it stops. Push this down until it stops. You'll kink down at a 90-degree angle and wrap around clockwise, go under your wind, and finish her up. Something so satisfying about that. Apart from a modern locking tuner where you just pull, cut, and tighten, I think that's pretty easy to restring. I like that design. I also just think it looks cool, that vintage vibe. That's a nice touch on this guitar. We have the modern truss rod adjustment up at the top of the neck. So I did go from 9-gauge strings from the factory to 10-gauge. So if I do need a little bit of adjustment, we'll make that here. Down here at the saddles, one thing to take note is that these are not slotted saddles. So the string will have the ability to slide around. So you want to kind of just eyeball and center these. Some people will get these notched so that you don't have the string sliding around. Depends on your preference. You don't have to, but over time the string will actually wear a slot into that saddle just from you playing it over time. All right, so I got fresh strings on here. Go ahead and check the relief on the neck. Got just a slight amount of relief, which is what I want. So I'm not seeing any need to adjust the truss rod.
So this is how you stretch out strings?
Yeah, so I'm stretching the strings out right now, but actually what I'm doing before I even stretch out the strings is I'm checking for any fretting out. So if the action's too low and you go to bend, the string won't ring, it'll choke out. So I'll check it, usually upper register, mid upper, and then kind of the lower register to see if that's happening. The action is really low, so if you like low action, the good news is right now I'm getting no buzz and I'm getting a free singing string on a bend. So actually, if you like low action, this guitar is ready to go. It's not requiring any setup, even with putting the 10-gauge strings on here. If you're a player who likes really low action, you're gonna have to put up with some buzz. This is a little bit too much buzz in the lower register. So I'm gonna just go ahead and raise the saddles ever so slightly. And you wanna take the tension off because a small adjustment of these will cause the string to go much sharper because you're putting a lot of tension at a focused short distance of string. In my opinion, if you haven't done this with a guitar before you play it, you can't judge it. If you haven't properly set it up to your preference with strings you like, you can't run to the internet and say the guitar sucks. All right, this guitar is restrung. Let's get some final specs before we plug it in and play it. 7 pounds, 6 ounces. Let's check out the reading on these atomic humbuckers. Hot. So we're 14.4 on the bridge, 9.8 on the neck, 5.8 in the middle, which just combines the readings. Here we're now 1.65, so this is slightly wider. 1.62 inches in thickness. So compare that to a standard Fender Strat would be about 1 3/4 inches. So you are getting a thinner body. That's kind of a trademark of a Squier as well, is that the piece of wood they're using is slightly thinner. Nice thing about that is you also get the lower weight.
John, should we plug this bad boy in?
Let's plug this bad boy in. I'm excited. This guitar, I think, looks just stunning. It's been fun to take it apart and look at all the components. This Indian Laurel board is conditioned and ready to go. We got brand new Diezel 10-gauge strings on it. What else to do but plug it in? So let's do it. There's that bridge pickup. So first reactions, I think this guitar sounds incredible. I really like the pickups. I really like the feel of this neck. So, you know, you never can tell until you try it. And I'm really happy that I set it up with my strings and to my liking. I've got it conditioned to give it the fair treatment as I play it. And I'll tell you what, out of the box, out of the gate, there's that bridge humbucker. Let's go ahead and flip it to neck and give you a taste of the same kind of ideas. Cool, there's the neck. Let's check out that middle position. All right, here's a middle kind of little bit of scratching. The middle's okay. I think the bridge is really a standout. So I'm hearing the bridge. Middle. I dig this guitar. I mean, if you want to get... All right, so you can pick this up for about $450. I think it's well worth the $450. It's very well made. It's a lot of fun to play. Check out the Squier Paranormal Series Toronado.
No way.
The Toronado. This isn't tomato. This is Toronado Toronado. Toronado. You can pick it up for $450. I highly recommend it. It is, in my opinion, the coolest new Squier that we've played. So not every single guitar gets that badge of approval, but this guy does. Hope you enjoyed watching. We'll see you guys soon.